Today we're going to be seeing how the outdoor boys actually cook and survive in Alaska, which we haven't seen before, so this will be interesting. If you're new to the channel, my name is James Makinson. I've been cooking for many years in many different places, and if you do happen to enjoy this video and the rest of my content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get started.
What's up, everybody? Today I got the outdoor boys here with me. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We just had some steaks.
Ooh.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Delicious.
Good.
Best steaks I've ever had in the world.
Oh, you're too kind. Give me 5. I like you more now.
Sorry, not sorry, Dad.
I forgot to mention that they're with Guga today, the king of steaks. I have made a few reviews of Guga already, so if you haven't seen those videos, go check them out. And Guga, if you do happen to see this, I would love to do a collab with you.
Today we're going to do a little bit of reaction of what it's like to be in the insane conditions that you are in, and sometimes you're in, and I'd love to know some inputs that people might not know.
Sure.
What's that sticker on Guga's laptop? No. Is that Chef Brian? I didn't know that Brian has such big biceps. Brian and I need a collab as well, I know.
Luke here at the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and I'm here in the frozen tundra of Alaska. And for the next 3 days, I'm building bushcraft shelters, sleeping under animal hides, dealing with broken equipment, and I'm bringing you guys along for the ride.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You are insane, brother. Wow, that scares me just by looking at it. How did this start? Like,
I don't know, I got into doing a few camping videos and they did well and it just sucked you in, you know? Yeah, how it is.
are you afraid at all of being outdoors at all, or nothing scares you anymore?
It's been a while since it scared me. It's been a while.
This is the first time that I've actually seen the Outdoor Boys. I've seen plenty of TikToks on them, so I know that Luke used to be like a lawyer, and then I guess he gave that up and just started to do YouTube videos. That was a big change in life, but at least he got to spend more time with his kids. I haven't been camping for a while, but I did used to live in the country for more than half my life, and I remember when I used to live in Kingston, Washington, one night, this was back in like 2010, it was late at night, like 11 o'clock, and there was this massive screeching, blood-curdling sound from the back of our property. We were on a 5-acre farm. We had woods in the back. It didn't sound like a bear, it didn't sound like a wolf, a coyote, any of those sounds, because we normally have those sounds and I know what they sound like because I've grown up in the country. The next day we asked our neighbors and a lot of them heard the same noise. A few of them were saying, this is just from what the neighbors are saying, that it was Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Welcome to the taiga forests of Alaska. I think it's time to do some camping. So this right here is all frozen swamp. See these little skinny, weird spruce trees? These only grow in swamp. Something we call muskeg or, you know, tundra. It's just like 10, 15 feet of decayed moss, right? And so if you were here in the summertime, you'd be wet up to your knees and stuff. And so it's all frozen.
Kind of like Florida.
Yeah, it'd be like going off in the Everglades, you know, minus the as many snakes and stuff like that. But yeah, more mosquitoes.
A lot more, and very cold.
Yeah, but in the wintertime it freezes over and then you can just drive over it.
How cold was that right now?
I think that was only like 16 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's like negative 10 Celsius or something like that.
I love how you say it was just 16. The coldest I've ever been was 32.
Me and my 4-year-old went camping in negative 60 degrees.
No. Anything under 50 degrees here in Florida is pretty cold.
My goodness, I think the coldest that I've ever been was minus 20 something. In Washington, it used to get down to 0 a few times, but not that often.
While these swamps are very difficult to cross in the summertime, once they freeze over, we can explore them. But first things first, I need to find a place to camp. And I actually like this spot quite a bit. Most of these spruce trees you see are dead. An invasive beetle called a spruce bark beetle came in here and wiped these things out. That means lots of building material, lots of firewood.
I love how you explain everything. It's awesome.
You can see that Guga's very excited, no? He loves it.
The air temperature is about 13 degrees Fahrenheit, and this ground is still not frozen. In the wintertime, the ground temperature is usually a lot warmer than the air temperature, and the snow acts as a blanket that traps that heat in the ground. If you can strip away the ice and snow and build your shelter on thawed ground, it's going to be a whole lot warmer. And there's a bit of mud right there. This ground might be a little bit more swampy than I first thought.
How far out are you from civilization right there if you needed help?
Oh, it's not that bad. I think there was a guy who lives in the woods that's like, oh, he would probably be about a 15-20 minute walk, but I could have called him and he could have come out and got me. And that's a big thing with a lot of these is you gotta, some of them are really out there and it's like, it's nervous, and others it's not a big deal. And that's one of the big danger factors is how far away. And this one wasn't bad.
One guy 15 minutes away. Oof. I mean, if you actually get in a very bad accident and you can't even get the chance to call for help and you're that far out, it's a little dangerous.
With filming and cutting everything, how long did it take you just to prep the trees?
That's a good question. Wasn't terrible this time. I mean, that's one of the big things why I need to find a place with lots of deadwood, because the biggest time factor is carrying the wood back to camp. So if you're having to go out and search for a dead tree and you're spending 5-10 minutes searching for each tree and you need 20 trees, you know, that's an hour just walking around looking for trees, you know, and you only have 6 hours of sunlight. So, you know, that's not good enough. So this was all, I could get all of these trees within almost sight distance of my camp. And so I knocked it out pretty quick.
And keep in mind, this isn't just an average camping day. This is also with the cameras, with lights. We're trying to get a good shot here and there. And it's bad enough when having to set up the cameras to show what you're going to be doing. It slows everything down. Oh.
I bought this hatchet in Hiroshima, Japan last spring. I used it to take the limbs off these trees. I get so many people asking me for a link to where you can buy that hatchet. I'm like, you can't. I got it from like an old dude in Japan in like an antique shop in the basement of his house. This isn't
This is
like,
not Amazon?
It's not Amazon. There's no Amazon. I got it from some old guy, you know. He like made the cardboard sheath that I'm using, and so.
It looks pretty badass.
Oh, it is so awesome. It is the best thing for taking limbs. Like for using for that, it is the best tool.
We have gotten a little like that, haven't we? Like if we want something, we just go on Amazon or something. I think the best thing to do if you want something like this made, which it looks like a pretty cool little hatchet, you probably need to talk to a blacksmith. And there are not many blacksmiths around anymore.
I think probably 3 p.m. now.
Is that desperation mode? Oh, I got to get this up before sundown, or?
It's not bad. If I can get all my stuff gathered into the area by the time the sun sets, it's not terrible because I always bring a lot of lights for filming and stuff. And so that's not bad. But if you're having to go and set up lights and cameras while you're going out and cutting down trees, it's such a pain in the butt. So usually I try to get everything around the shelter before the sun sets.
You have to think too, though, that in cold temperatures, I'm sure that the gear sometimes doesn't always work. Your cameras and everything, the lights. I mean, the cold can wreak some havoc on your equipment.
It's 3:50 p.m. Starting to get dark. It's this close to the Arctic. We don't get a lot of sunlight. Well, I better bust out my lights. That's a tarp that's meant for like a hammock camping thing. I don't think I've ever once used that tarp for what it was designed for.
Where does this knowledge all come from?
Just giving it a go. I mean,
Really?
Yeah, just do it.
No training whatsoever? Ever like military training or anything?
It's just, you know, it's the nature of YouTubing, right? You just do it.
You just do it?
You just do it.
Wow, look, that's crazy.
Absolutely just learning as you go. My goodness. The amount of knowledge that you have to be able to survive in the wild. YouTube has really changed the lives for a lot of people. I mean, I remember in the old days that YouTube used to be the platform that you would go to look at different like tutorials or how-to videos on how to do anything and everything, literally. And today, turned into, I think, more popular than cable.
Yeah, that's working. You can tell everything's wet when dead pine doesn't want to burn. Little fingers are getting a little numb. I get all the snow out of my hair. Oh, that feels amazing.
I can feel your happiness there. Every time you say something on your videos, oh, that feels amazing.
I was getting tired watching this, like, oh gosh, that was so much work. I'm like,
when you get to this point, it must be so satisfying, no?
it's nice when you get that fire. It makes a difference. It really does make a difference, especially when you're wet by then and stuff. It's nice.
We can feel it. We can feel it through the video.
Google's right, we can feel it through the video. And there is a difference between normal camping, like, you know, when you go to the campground, you have your little tent, or not even that. You have a trailer that you're sleeping in. This is more survival camping.
See, that's one of my favorite moments because it's so real and relatable. You're just chilling and you're like, oh. Yeah.
All right, back to doing stuff. Gotta go finish this. I've got a shelter, I've got fire. I think it's time to start working on dinner.
This is my favorite part. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. I haven't seen this one, but wow. Watch this, everybody.
Finally, we get to the food part. Since we're watching Guga, I'm sure it's not just going to be vegetables. If I'm right, you need to hit the subscribe button.
I got a sweet potato and a little bit of tin foil here. We're gonna wrap that up.
Does he make that a lot?
All the time. He loves the tinfoil tactic.
Do you like it? Does it taste good?
Yeah, it does. It's a nice way of cooking. You can just shove it in the coals. It doesn't melt the tin foil, and then it doesn't, trash the meal itself. So it doesn't taste like campfire or coals.
Doesn't taste like dirt.
Wrapping your potatoes, your corn, your sweet potatoes, yams, whatever you want in aluminum works really well. Now I know a lot of people are a little scared of using aluminum because they don't want it to leach into your food and everything, but the reality is with barbecue, with outdoor survival cooking as well, or even in a lot of restaurants, aluminum is used for a lot of things. More than you think. So is Teflon.
Bury that sweet potato in the coals for about 45 minutes.
Oh!
Another classic dad.
Another classic. Why, he likes steaks a lot?
He does. If you don't like a steak, something's wrong.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, I agree.
I think Luke's son is going to be Uncle Roger's protege.
Woo!
Yeah!
I think I actually remember sitting here like exhausted cooking steaks and thinking, Guga just gets to do this part indoors, and one of us is being a lot smarter with YouTube than the other one.
It's a lot easier the way I do it, I'll tell you that.
I'm doing this the hard way.
This is true. Guga definitely has the better gig when it comes to making steak. I mean, you can do it the easy way or the hard way. Luke was doing it the hard way. Instead, he could just make it in the kitchen. Be a lot easier, but not as enjoyable. I would love to see Guga in one of these situations camping. It'd be interesting.
Hold your hand over the fire and count 1, 2, 3. And when you can get to 3 without it hurting, that's about 375 degrees Fahrenheit. So right about here.
I love that knowledge because in Brazil we teach the same exact way. So if you can hold your hand on the fire within only 1 second and immediately take it out, that's perfectly for searing. And there, 3 seconds, 375 degrees. That's the way to do it right, everybody.
Really? That's interesting. I would have to say that it also depends on how far or how close your hand is to the actual fire and the flames. Seasoning.
I like a little bread with my steak, so I brought along some bread dough.
Bread dough. How did that come along?
I can't remember. I remember I've always wanted to get good at making bread, and I think I actually saw a YouTube video where like some old lady or something was making bread off in Eastern Europe, or I'm like, I'm doing that, and so
on a campfire.
On a campfire, gosh darn it! And so I just started doing it. I can't remember. It's been a while. I've been doing it for a while. I can't remember exactly where I started doing that, but then I just started doing it a lot, and it's really good. And it's just like if you're had a long, hard day, a fresh loaf of bread is hard to beat.
It's very difficult to beat that.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
This is actually a really good idea if you're going to go camping, to take some fresh dough with you so you can just make some flatbread. I have to admit that this is so much more realistic than a lot of the survival shows that I'm sure a lot of you have also seen, I know that I remember Survivor and all these other ones growing up. Well, those aren't really realistic anyway to begin with, but of where they have like nothing and they have to eat bugs and everything else. I mean, realistically, if you're going to go into the wild, are you going to take nothing with you, or are you going to prepare a little bit? I'm with Luke here. I'd take steak. Guys, let me know down below what you would take with you with camping, at least for the food. You don't need to like to give me a whole list, but at least just for the food, what would you take?
I got a question. Does the smoke bothers you at all because you're doing it so often and for such a long time?
I think I'm a little bit less sensitive to smoke than most people, obviously, because I'm around it all the time. But how you build your fire in your shelter affects how the fire draws the smoke and stuff. So when you get down and you're on the bottom of the snow like that, you've got a windbreak all around the fire. So you don't, the smoke tends to go straight up a lot better unless you really got a ripping wind. There's a lot to it. Like one of the big things is if you get a lot of smoke, build your fire bigger. Hot fire,
no smoke.
No smoke, and then yeah, it's so much better. And then there's like, you'll see me build a heat reflector, which is like a wall behind your fire to push the heat back. That's really good because the wind that's going to blow the smoke into your face is behind your fire.
These are all good little tips. The other thing you need to be careful with is that anybody with asthma needs to be extra careful when it comes to making a fire.
Oh, that's done. There.
You see, if I was making that, I would eat every single one of them individually. Your dad waits.
That is a YouTube thing. It's 13 degrees out. You know how quickly your food gets cold at 13 degrees? But you want to put the whole thing on the plate.
You want a nice plating.
It just looks awesome having the whole thing on the plate. You got to do it. Plus, I like to eat a little bit of sweet potato, a little bit of
You want to have a meal, not a little bit of snack.
Yeah, you know, stuff. But I eat cold food more often than not with that.
Is bad enough normally when you're making a cooking video and you have to wait to take the photos for Instagram, for this and that. Your food still gets cold. When you're camping outside in sub-zero temperatures, the rate at which your food chills is absolutely incredible. And if any of you haven't seen those videos where people living in like the tundra or living in Siberia take a bucket of boiling water and then toss it in the air and it's like powder, instant freezing can happen.
Oh,
no, that's looking pretty good.
What do you mean pretty good? That looks awesome.
That looks delicious, but I bet it's not as good as yours.
Ah, you're making me blush.
I'm completely okay with it. I tasted your steak. I think I've been doing it wrong my whole life.
No, not at all. That looks delicious.
Sounds like somebody likes Guga's cooking. You have to admit though, Luke cooking that outside on the campfire, literally on a stick, he did a pretty good job.
Some honey and butter I'm gonna put on there.
No, we gotta talk about this because this is like your signature now.
Apparently, I had nothing to do with that. All of a sudden, people are like, honey butter's like a thing. I didn't know that was like a big deal, but like,
that's your thing. He's the honey butter guy.
I guess so. I guess so.
When I saw your video for the first time, it's so relatable to me because for breakfast, I always have honey and butter, no matter what. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, we're gonna be good friends for a long time.
Hey, it is good food.
So first, we have the ranch with pizza, which apparently, I guess this is like a new thing. I didn't know it was a thing. It wasn't in the 90s. And now honey butter's a thing. I mean, normally I do have toast in the mornings with a little bit of butter and then I put honey on top. I don't mix the two, but I have it together.
Sweet potato is so mushy. It's exactly how it should be. I'm gonna put a little cinnamon on my sweet potato and on my bread.
Cinnamon and on potato, it's like, you ever went to Texas Roadhouse?
Oh yeah.
And they have the cinnamon,
the cinnamon butter, yes.
Oh my God.
My wife buys that by the tub and like it's always in our fridge.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good. Medium rare, sir. Congratulations. Look at that. How'd you use the thermometer?
I'm just one with the steak.
It looks delicious and I will eat that right now. It doesn't look like you're in the middle of nowhere. It looks like a lot better than a lot of steak houses I've seen.
I'm just saying you are a walking steakhouse.
Did you like the steak?
It's the best steaks I've ever had.
How do you like your steak? Because before you didn't like it, you like it more well cooked. But then this time you tried medium rare. Was it still your favorite now?
You make medium rare taste like it's the best thing in the world.
And you cooked it. A lot of the steaks you cooked it.
Yeah, you did a good job, Tommy. I expect you to cook like that when you get home, man.
My mom was going to be proud of me?
Yeah, she sure is.
I'm sure she's already proud of him. I agree with Guga on this. That looks delicious. I'll be fully honest though, that if it was me, I'd show probably a couple seconds of that and I'd wolf it down.
We got sweet potato and cinnamon, honey butter and bread, and 2 massive chunks of seasoned steak.
That don't look cold.
No, the steak was good.
That looked
That one
good.
did pretty good. I think the bread was a little cold. That is good. Oh, that was good. Still got quite a bit of this steak left. You just go sit it in the snowbank and it'll be good tomorrow.
Old school. And if anyone doesn't know that in the old days, before we actually had refrigerators or where we had a motor, there used to be what's called an ice box. And you used to have the iceman that would go around and deliver ice to the houses to put into the ice boxes. This was the old way on keeping your food cold. And just imagine this in the older days when you actually had to have ice delivered to your house to keep your food like refrigerated. What a nightmare, all the water that you had to clean up and everything.
Is that the natural freezer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, now that we've had a fire in here for several hours, we're starting to figure out what the ground situation is. Over here, it is really soft. Like, look at this. That is just a big swampy spot right there. So I think we're gonna end up sleeping on this side. Well, it's pretty clear that I need to make a bed. If I sleep straight on the ground, I'm gonna get soaking wet and frozen. I'm refilling my water jug just a cup or 2 at a time. Got to melt a lot of snow to get 2 liters of water.
I've only seen snow twice in my life. So for me, it's mesmerizing. So you got to melt that much to have that little of water.
Yeah, that entire thing full of snow probably was like this much water. So it's not a lot. It depends on how dense the snow is.
Yeah.
If you get like really heavy, wet snow, it's better. If
And no yellow snow.
no yellow snow, that's not lime.
No, yellow snow is not good. That's a sad thing though, that Guga's only seen snow twice in his life. But living in the Northwest and living out in the country, we didn't just used to get snow, we also used to get ice storms. And ice storms with the big fir trees that we had and pine trees used to knock the power lines down. It would block the road and we would be without electricity for a day or 2 and we couldn't get out because the roads were blocked and everything was ice.
I didn't bring any sleeping bags or sleeping pads, but I brought my caribou hide. Caribou have these thick, hollow hairs. They're really warm. You double a caribou hide over on itself, it's pretty thick.
That's a meat I never had. And I almost tried everything. Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, it's lean. It's like wild meat.
Is it
Gamey?
gamey?
All the ones I had weren't, but I think it depends on how you process them and what time of year. But actually, if I get up to Kotzebue or something next time, I'll try to grab you some caribou steaks and send reindeer steaks.
I'd love to
send
try
them down to you.
Guga's tried almost every type of meat in the world. What a statement. Personally speaking, I have tried quite a few different types of meat. I've tried even camel, but caribou I haven't tried. Camel was actually pretty tasty too, a little leaner. A lot of people say that crocodile is a little fishy or it's a mix between chicken and fish. I don't know. I've never tried it and I've never handled the meat.
Let's see how lumpy this is gonna be. Wow, I'm tired. It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm pretty tired. Well, instead of a sleeping bag, I'm gonna be sleeping underneath a bison hide tonight. I use the bison because it's one of the few animals big enough to cover me. I'm kind of a big boy. Sparks can land on them, the fire can get real hot, doesn't matter. You'll wake up long before these things catch on fire. It's gonna be very cold tonight, and my water bottles will freeze solid if I don't keep them near the fire. So I'm gonna put them just right down here.
The other thing you need to be careful with the water bottles is that in freezing temperatures, if you fill your water bottle up to the top and it freezes on you, what'll happen? It's going to pop. This is also why, like with meats, like fish or with certain meats, if you freeze it improperly and then you go to cook it, you'll notice that the meat is a little mushy because the water crystals actually shred the meat.
See, when I saw you doing that for the very first time, it didn't even cross my mind that that was a possibility to keep you nice and warm. So the things that I've learned already just by watching your videos is insane.
What you guys do is see how many times you burn things up. Like winter camping and burning your stuff up, it goes hand in glove. Like those bottles, like how many of them I've melted.
You even caught a cabin on fire.
Yeah, caught a cabin on fire. But yeah, you know, you sleep next to playing around fire like that in cabin, like stuff gets caught on fire. So it's
All the time.
This is another good idea though. I mean, if you don't have like a hot water bottle or anything to keep yourself warm to put under the bed.
It is late and I am tired. I will see you guys in the morning. Oh, good morning. Stayed pretty warm, but the bed is so hard. Oh.
That yes was deep.
yes, like you get up like, oh, I'm paralyzed. Oh, no, I can feel my legs.
Yeah, sleeping on the floor is not fun. It really isn't, especially after working as much as Luke has worked and then sleeping on basically wood. It doesn't make it very nice.
Oh, that feels good. Get my toes warmed up. Frozen boots. How many times have I put on frozen boots? Gonna warm up the honey butter. Fresh warm bread and honey butter. It is definitely colder today. If I'm gonna stay warm, I'm gonna need to make this shelter a whole lot better. Let me show you something weird about snow. You can see this right here is the path I made with my snowshoes yesterday. You can see where yesterday I walked on it without snowshoes and I sunk in, but today it's rock hard.
Now, one of the things, people who grew up around snow, you can tell the temperature by how the snow sounds. It'll squeak. It'll get really squeaky.
So just by stepping on that, you know how cold it is.
You can really sense it. Just like and even if a lot of people can't articulate it, if you grow up around the snow, you can just sense like when it's snowy but it's not that cold versus when you get that deep cold. You can just, the snow looks different. It feels different. It sounds different. You know?
Wow.
Oh, that is interesting. I remember being in Colorado when I was little and we had a lot of snow. This was back in the 90s, so it was a while ago. And I remember using snowshoes for the very first time and it was incredible. The coolest thing, especially when you're a kid and you can walk on snow, it's the coolest thing.
I want to push this snow berm back a little bit and make a little bit more room. So I've been throwing my tree limbs and logs in here. It takes a long time for the fire to melt the snow, but it's a lot better than shoveling.
Now, Tom, I get people asking me all the time why you don't come out with me on these campouts as much anymore. Why is that?
School.
School.
School and bad grades.
Yeah, no going on campouts and ditching school with me if you don't have your grades up.
I would have thought that in Alaska, I don't know what the laws are, but that Luke would be at least homeschooling. I mean, the kids could do a lot more if they were homeschooled and they wouldn't be in school all the day. Here in Spain, it's not allowed. You have to go to public school.
Yeah, that pit was so muddy. I don't think I communicated that well in the video, but my boots were getting wet.
Soaking wet, and that's one of the worst things about, when you're cold and wet.
And then everything freezes in the night too. If your boots are wet, then they're like just go rock hard. If you can get them cold when they're dry, it's not so bad.
It sounds like it's miserable.
It can be. There's a lot of things I like about it better than summertime camping. I kind of like it when the weather feels like it wants to kill you a little bit. It's nice.
Agreed.
That explains a lot,
Yeah.
right?
I would think the big thing here you need to worry about is one, not just hypothermia if you do get a little too wet, but frostbite, especially with your feet.
You're like making a 5-star hotel here.
No, it's all about those Yelp reviews. You gotta. If I could turn this into an Airbnb, I won't have to do the YouTube thing anymore.
So there you go.
One of the things I just wanted to say is when he does his clips, you can look in the background and just watch how different the lighting goes.
Yeah.
You can see the fire go change and the light change.
It's just cool.
It's been a long time. He's doing that for a while.
Yeah, you can see the passage of time on it.
This happens a lot with YouTube videos that you don't really know how much time you actually put into it, the recording, and it can be literally the whole day. And in the end, it only turns out to be a 10-minute video.
I cut this whole wall wrong, and I had to redo the whole thing. Yeah, and I didn't make it in editing, but
I can literally feel your pain.
I wasn't too sure how warm this shelter was going to be. I was really hoping this would work out.
You just like that, you took out a stove. Was that in the truck?
Yeah, it was in the truck.
That's really handy having a little stove with you. Very. Let's see what he's gonna make now.
There we go, got my stove installed. Hopefully this will keep me nice and warm. Well, I got my shelter set up just in the nick of time. It's already starting to get dark. Luckily, I already have a lot of firewood laying around. I'm not gonna need as much as I did last night. Been getting a lot of pine needles and pine cones in my drinking water. So I'm gonna go find a spot a little further away from the trees. Woo, it is frozen.
If you go out into rural Alaska, you go out in the bush and stuff, people will shoot a caribou and something, they'll leave it in their front yard and just cut pieces off it and just kind of save it and stuff. And you'll like go to Kotzebue and walk down the street and someone will get a couple caribou and they'll just be sitting in the front and, you know, they come out in the wintertime. Yeah, it's just your big freezer.
The big freezer outside.
Big freezer
Safe
outside.
Space.
So that means, like, literally when you're just driving down the street, you'll see a couple butchered caribou in the front yard. It's a bit different. Wouldn't you think that you'd have to be a little worried about like predators or anything? I mean, I don't know because I haven't been to Alaska, but at least where I lived in Washington, we had pumas, we had coyotes, no wolves, but we also had black bear. I mean, I know during the winter bears hibernate and all, but with the mountain lions and with the coyotes, they don't.
I'll just put it over here. Hopefully it'll thaw out. Well, it's about 5 o'clock and I'm in for the night, so I think I'm gonna start making some dinner. All right, I got some black beans here.
Shout out to my Brazilian peeps, beans and rice. Woo.
It's so mind-blowing to me that you're cooking this over there.
Well, you have to do what you have to do, don't you? Actually, taking beans with you is pretty easy as well, and the rice doesn't take that long to cook.
Oh, these onions are frozen.
When I saw you cut the onion, you can just look at that and just see the ice chunks in it.
Yeah.
It was 100% frozen.
Yeah, they look wilty too. If you look at the green ends, like if you let your vegetable drawer freeze and stuff, yeah, they were a little wilty.
This is where having a good little Swiss Army knife comes in handy. Personally, I'd probably take a bigger knife with me, but all you have is a little pocket knife like what Luke has here in the video. It's how it is.
The logs over on that side were starting to smolder. You can tell the logs are getting hot. There's pine sap bubbling out of them.
That's a big deal. That happens a lot. Like, yeah, because what happens is when you first put the woods there, they're cold, they're wet, whatever, and they'll be fine. But sometimes over a case of a day or two, they'll dry out, and then stuff that wouldn't have caught fire will. So you can be in a shelter like that for a day or two, no problem. Then all of a sudden, poof, all that sap that was bubbling out, that's flammable. You're building these shelters and you're in a sleeping bag or something and everything catches on fire and you can't quite get out quickly and the sleeping bag plastic can melt on you. And,
Oh, God.
Yeah, it can get nasty. So that's one thing that you got to watch out for.
That's a good little tip. It also may be a reason why he didn't bring a sleeping bag.
Oh yeah, that's thawed out nicely. It's warming up well.
I've never had a steak frozen and then eaten it after. Is it good?
It's not bad if you do it slow. Yeah, and what you want to do is you want to cook it a little pinker than you would like, because it's gonna.
That way, when it reheats,
it's
kind of okay.
It's still not well done, you know. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think he just gave Guga another idea for one of his new videos.
All right, just added some rice,
starting to smell so good.
Question, you have to live without one. Rice or bread?
I live without bread.
You live without bread?
Rice.
Me too. You?
Bread.
Yeah?
I don't want to lose a sandwich.
When you think about it, you can easily bring like a 5 or 10 kilo bag of rice. Easily. The issue with rice is that once it's cooked, it can be a hazardous food. With bread, that's not the case. Well, if I had to leave one, I don't know, it'd be a hard question. Maybe I would take the rice because I can take more of it, but you would have to eat what you make.
It's still pink.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
That looks so good to me. I can eat that all day, every day.
Put a little hot sauce on there.
Ooh.
I'm so hungry. This smells amazing.
I feel that. I feel that happiness.
Look at the portions too. I mean, that is, I had 3 of those. I plowed just through the food that night.
He said he had 3 of those plates, or he could have 3 of those. The thing is though, when you're working this hard, you will be amazed at how many calories your body will burn through. You need calories and you need the protein too, because otherwise your body's not going to repair itself.
And I tell you what, beans and rice are an amazing camping food. Not only are they delicious, it's non-perishable and takes up hardly any room in your backpack. I think it's time to go to bed. I'll see you guys in the morning. But I did have to wake up a bunch to stoke the fire. I woke up about 2 a.m. the first time, and then at 3, 4:30, and then 6.
How does that work? You have an alarm clock, or is it just start getting cold?
Started getting cold.
Start getting cold?
And I've gotten really used to it. Just I wake up easily and stuff. It's like raising kids, you know. By the time it's your 3rd kid at midnight feeding, you're like, I know how to do it. Yeah, you just.
I see.
It's funny, your body actually does have like an internal alarm clock. Some people can just get up automatically, like at 5 a.m. right on the dot, and others, you can't wake them up at all. It's like a log.
So for breakfast, I've got an omelet. I made this at home. It's got sausage and vegetables, cheese, eggs. Went through it in a vacuum sealed bag and then froze it. Now all I got to do is just warm it up.
That's the sous vide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what the dog mushers do. This is, we did a video with some pro dog mushers last year, and they just use some sterno or heat, basically, and they basically have all their meals like this and just warm them up.
It is sous vide. He's making a sous vide omelet. Let's see if it's better than Jack's. I think it will be.
And you can see, it's kind of funny, you can see all the insides all cooked too. See that? Beautiful.
Doesn't that look good? This is so much better than dehydrated.
That one don't look good. Yeah, that one don't look as good as the steak. The steak look nice.
It doesn't look as good, but I'm sure it tasted better than Jack's. You have to keep in mind though, would you rather eat this or would you rather eat some bugs? If you can find them. I'd rather eat the eggs.
I always bring backup food for a lot of reasons, and I had this bit of pork here that I didn't get to use, and I was keeping it underneath my bed to keep it cold. A mouse got into it. Yeah, it's not bears, it's the mice that cause you trouble. It's probably a vole or a lemming.
It's like the last thing, isn't it, that you think you're gonna run into in the middle of nowhere, where you have like feet of snow, you don't see anything, and then the bloody little mice steal your food. Bloody little Stuart Little.
I just cut off that part. It's still good.
I just cut out that part. It's still good.
Still good. It was. I already ate that. That was good. Yeah, it was good. I have more trouble with mice than any other animal, hands down. And the longer you camp in one spot, the worse the problem becomes. It's like more and more mice find you. When the mice get really bad, they'll start coming in at night and grabbing your hair and pulling out bits of your hair to make their nest. It's
Oh, hell no!
What are you worried about?
No, I don't know. I just don't like them touching me. Oh, don't touch me. No.
Guga's afraid of mice? Who would have thought? I mean, Guga doesn't need to worry about little mice stealing his hair. There's no need. Guga did say he tried almost every single meat, so he hasn't tried like mice or rats yet, has he?
10 a.m. and we're just in time for the sunrise.
Sunrise at 10 a.m.
I will die. I'm dead right there.
That's never a good sign, and this happens quite a bit, especially in the cold when the cold like drains your battery.
Car doesn't want to start, and it sounds like it's the battery. It's 0 degrees Fahrenheit right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if the battery's so cold that it just doesn't want to start.
That is genius.
I just need to raise the temperature of the battery like 20, 30 degrees. I don't need to boil it.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere. You need to be a little careful.
All right, that's feeling warm. All right.
Better, but not yet.
Didn't work. Oh, you gotta do the engine now.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just want to say that this is extremely dangerous, putting a fire underneath a gas engine. Not only that, but the truck is being held up by the snow, no?
Fortunately, the engine block is way back.
Isn't that dangerous?
Yeah. This is actually probably the sketchiest thing I did on the whole trip, because those.
Isn't that a gas pipeline or something?
Oh no, I'm not worried about that. What it is I'm underneath the car, and the car is being supported by snow, right? And I just dug the snow out.
I didn't even think about that.
So if the sides of the snow collapses and that truck lands on me while I'm kneeling underneath it, I get pinned to the ground and I just sit there and freeze to death or die or whatever.
Bye-bye, Luke. Because Luke, unlike Bear Grylls, is by himself. He doesn't have a TV crew with him, and he doesn't have a little, safety button.
It's warm, but it's not hot. Obviously, this is a little bit sketchy. Gotta make sure you don't catch anything on fire or melt any wires or anything. You know, what you're trying to do is make the oil more liquidy. When the oil
because the oil is literally frozen?
It gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and then you can't pump it through the engine. And so instead of becoming a lubricant, it becomes glue. And so the starter can't make the engine run. And so by making it warm, you think about like olive oil. If it's in the fridge, it's a solid, right? You know, and so same sort of thing.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been years since I've lived in a cold climate. But when we did, a lot of people had like diesel trucks and cars because diesel runs better in colder climates. And then again, a few of these friends also had remote starters, so they would actually heat the engine block up separately and then start the car. You know, it can be a lifesaver, so you don't have to stick a fire under it.
Ah.
There you go. Woohoo! This is living in Alaska in a nutshell. Stuff goes wrong, things break, and you just gotta deal with it. You know, it's not like I could call a tow truck.
I'm sure Guga is thinking to himself right there that he's glad he's in the house and he doesn't have to go through this.
Engine's warmed up. Let's see if we can get out of here.
He almost hit the camera, and you have to think that Luke has to set up the camera before he takes the shot.
I absolutely loved it. I mean, I feel like just by watching the video, I've learned so much already. Thank you, Luke, for being here. Thank you, my brother. Thanks for cooking me an awesome steak.
I learned from the best.
Ah, there you go. Now it's maybe one day I'm going to visit you guys and you guys are going to show me around.
Absolutely.
That was a fantastic video. Luke apparently retired from YouTube, and it is sad to see that he retired because obviously from his videos it looks very wholesome. I mean, he teaches a lot of things and he does a really good job. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like and a share, but most importantly, guys, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. And I know, Luke, that you retired, but if you ever visit Spain or when I visit Alaska, I would love to collab. It'd be pretty fun to do a little like outdoor camping cooking thing. It really would be. Thank you everybody for watching. Be sure to check out this next video here, and I'll see you again soon. Until then, take care.